Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Brajanana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajanana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasani Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jayam Vishnupad Brahmamsa Parivrajakacharya Stotrasata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhaicharan Ravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Jayam Vishnupad Brahmamsa Parivrajakacharya Stotrasata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai Gaura Premanande Haribo. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 24, text number 19. The chapter is entitled Chanting the Song Sung by Lord Shiva. Maitreya Vacha Prachetasa Piturvakyam Shira Sadya Sadavaha Disham Pratichim Prayayos Tapasya Drita Chetasa Maitreya Vacha Prachetasa Piturvakyam Shira Sadaya Sadavaha Disham Pratichim Prayayos Tapasya Adrita Chetasa Maitreya Vacha Prachetasa Piturvakyam Shira Sadaya Sadavaha Disham Pratichim Prayayos Tapasya Drita Chetasaha Maitreya Vacha Prachetasa Piturvakyam Shira Sadaya Sadavaha Disham Pratichim Prayayos Tapasya Drita Chetasaha Maitreya Vacha Prachetasa Piturvakyam Shira Sadaya Sadavaha Disham Pratichi Prayayos Tapasya Drita Chetasa Maitreya Vacha Chetasa Piturvakyam Shira Sadaya Sadavaha Maitreya Vacha Prachetasa Piturvakyam Shira Sadaya Sadavaha Disham Pradechim Prayayos Tapasya Drita Chetasa. Ladies. Maitreya Vacha Prachetasa Piturvakyam Ira Sadaya Sadava Disham Pratichim Prayayus Tapasya Drita Chetasa. Ladies. Maitreya Vacha Prachetasa Piturvakyam Shira Sadaya Sadavaha Sham Pratichim Prayayus Tapasya Drita Chetasa. Maitreya Vacha. The great sage Maitreya continued to speak. Prachetasaha, all the sons of King Prajinabarhi. Pituhu, of the father. Vakyam, words. Shirasa, on the head. Araya, accepting. Sadavaha, O pious. Disham, direction. Pratichim, western. Prayayuhu, went away. Tapasi, in austerities. Adrita, accepting seriously. Chetasaha, in the heart. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The great sage Maitreya continued, My dear Vidura, because of their pious nature, all the sons of Prachinabarhi were very seriously accepted the words of their father with heart and soul, and with these words on their heads, they went toward the west to execute their father's order. Purport. In this verse, sadhavaha, meaning pious or well-behaved, is very important, especially at the present moment. It is derived from the word sadhu. A perfect sadhu is one who is always engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prachinabarhi's sons are described as sadhava because of their complete obedience to their father. The father, king, and spiritual master are supposed to be representatives of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and as such, they have to be respected as the Supreme Lord. It is the duty of the father, the spiritual master, and the king to regulate their subordinates in such a way that they ultimately become fully unalloyed devotees of the Supreme Lord. That is the duty of the superiors, and it is the duty of the subordinates to obey their orders perfectly and in a disciplined way. The word Shirasa on their heads is also significant, for the Prachetas accepted the orders of their father and carried them on their heads, which means they accepted them in complete surrender. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So in this verse, Prabhupada has pointed out the most important, basically, word is sarava, or pious or well-behaved. And how the prachetas, they have been well-behaved because they took the order of their father very seriously. They have listened to him very carefully, and then they completely surrendered to him, which is signified by the word also shirasa, taking the order on the head. And they took this order and they went in the western direction to now execute these orders. And as we will see later on, that was their basically saving grace, because by that order they were able to cooperate with each other very nicely, and that actually pleased the Supreme Lord. The importance in this verse is also given, in the purport especially, is also given through the person who is giving the instruction, or the father, or the guru, or the superior. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is this instruction given by King Rishabhadev. Guru nasasyat, swajano nasasyat, pita nasasyat, janani nasasyat, devan natatsyan napatischa sasyat, namocha etsan samupete mritu. And it means that one should not become a guru, one should not become a relative, one should not become a father, a mother, a worshipful demigod, or a master, or a king, if he is not able to relieve his subordinates from this cycle of birth and death, or basically save them from death. And the only way to do that is to give your subordinates Krishna consciousness. That is the only way to get out of this material world. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Janma karma chame divyam evam yoveti tatvaha tyaktva deham punar janma naiti mameti sorjuna. When somebody understands the divine nature of my appearance and my activities, then upon, leaving this world does not take birth again. So in this way we see that the only real way to do anything good in this material world for anyone that is in contact with us is to give them Krishna. That is our duty, actually. And that is also what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has asked us to do. Yara dekha tarekaha Krishna upadesh amara gyaya guru hanya tara e desh. He has told us that whoever we meet, whoever we come in contact with, we should tell them about Krishna. And in that way, by his order, we should become a guru and deliver the whole world. That is the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And yes, and for that, we have to also, obviously, cultivate Krishna consciousness very seriously in ourselves. There is this very great story that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Sanatana Goswami when he was instructing him at Varanasi. He told him the story of the Mrigari the hunter. And the story goes like this, that once Narada Muni was traveling around, he just came from Vaikuntha, he was hanging out with the Lord. And he was walking through this forest, and he saw so many animals suffering because they were suffering from broken legs, from great wounds inflicted by arrows, and they were trembling and crying and squirming in pain. And then Narada Muni was thinking, who did this? Who is such a cruel person that would do such a thing? This is not, any civilized person will not do this. In the previous ages, the kings or the kshatriyas, they had to go to the forest and hunt the animals just to keep up their kshatriya spirit. But this was not done in a way that they would just kill inconsiderately of the animal and, just go there for sport or something. They were killing the very dangerous animals like the tigers and the lions and the jackals and the wolves and bears, so that they would also in this way give protection to the sages that were there in the forest, so that they wouldn't create a big disturbance, all these ferocious animals. And at the same time, they also, you have to be very brave to face a tiger with a sword or something like that. It's not very easy thing to do that. When I was growing up, I used to read these novels about the Wild West. And in that novel, then there is this one guy. His name is Old Shatterhand, and and he goes and he faces a grizzly bear with a knife only, and then he earns his stripes. He earns respect from everybody. So in this way, this is the Kshatriya spirit. The Kshatriya never backs down from a fight. But the Kshatriya, he will not, while he is killing this ferocious animal, he's not gonna kill this animal halfway. He's gonna kill the animal all the way, so that the animal doesn't suffer. But Narada Muni in this forest, he saw so many animals being half killed, and he was, because a devotee is paradukha dukhi, he feels for the suffering of all the other living entities. He was very much morose to see these animals like this. And he was wondering who did this. And then behind the tree, he saw this sort of dark personality hiding behind a tree. And his eyes were, had a reddish glow, and he looked very scary, and he had a bow in his hand. And so Narada Muni approached him, and by doing so, all the other animals also spotted him, the hunter, right? And the hunter, he got very upset, and he wanted to rebuke Narada Muni with harsh words. But because Narada Muni was such a saintly personality, he was giving out such a saintly atmosphere, He couldn't approach Narada Muni with harsh words. So then he respectfully said to Narada Muni, why have you come to me? Now all these animals have run away. Now I cannot kill them. And Narada Muni, he asked him, so all these other animals that are there, that are half killed, is this your doing? Jai Shishi Radha Radhanath ki jai, Shikora Hari ki jai, Shikiriraj Maharaj ki jai. And the hunter, he said yes. He was very proud of his work. And Narada Muni asked him, but why don't you kill them all the way? This is very painful for these animals. And Mrigari said, well, this gives me a lot of pleasure, to kill these animals like this, because also my father, he taught me how to do this, and this has been going on in our family for many generations, this kind of killing of the animals. And so Mrigari didn't see anything wrong with his doing. But then Narada Muni, he felt great compassion for this personality. And he decided that he's going to change his vision. And he told the hunter that this is not very good, especially for your future. In the future, you will get all these animals that you have killed and you have tortured. They will kill you and torture you in the same way in the future. And in this way, this made such a big impression, obviously, because Narada Muni was also a great saint. This made such a big impression on Mrigari that he became a little bit afraid. And he said to Narada Muni, how can I get rid of this great danger? And Narada Muni, he didn't immediately tell him, you should do this and you should do that, and in this way, by surrendering to Krishna, you will get rid from all these sinful activities. But he gave him a particular instruction, which is very important also for us. He told him that, first of all, you should break your bow, and then I will tell you how to get rid of this reactions. And Srila Prabhupada then comments, this story is given in the Madhya Lila in Chaitanya Charitamrita, then he comments that this is very significant because also this means that first he had to give up his bad habits. That if he would just repent and, in front of Narada Muni a little bit, yes, I'm very sorry that I killed all these animals. I want to get rid of this. I'm repenting. I did wrong, But then after Narada Muni would leave, he would start, doing killing again, with his bow. His bow is still there. Well, I don't know if I will be able to survive, That was also the question that Mrigari posed to Narada Muni. If I break my bow, how I will be able to survive? And Narada Muni said, don't worry, I will arrange for your survival, but you just have to have a little faith in me and the process that I will teach you. So in this way, then Mrigari, a little bit hesitantly, but still he did it. He broke his bow, and then he fully surrendered to Narada Muni. And this part of the story is also very significant because also before Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he explains to Sanatana Goswami how by executing Krishna Bhakti, he says that doing that, you already perform all the necessary activities. And that, by having faith in that, or having a firm conviction in this, that with Krishna Bhakti you can do all the necessary activities, all the necessary obligations that you have, the duties that you have. That is called Shraddha or faith. Shraddha Shabda Vishwasa Kohe, Sudrita Nishchaya, Krishna Bhakti Kaila, Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. That is the verse that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says to Sanatana Goswami. And then, this is the faith that actually the spiritual master, he gives us. Because we can see that by his own activities, he is already experiencing what he is teaching. That is the definition of Acharya, who is teaching by his example. So in this way, Mrigari the hunter, he accepted Narada Muni as his spiritual master. And then Narada Muni instructed him how he should give up all his possessions and become very simple and accept the Vanaprastha order of life, worship Tulsi, and chant Hare Krishna. And in this way, all the people in general became very impressed by this hunter that became a devotee, and they were bringing loads and loads of food and all the other necessities for Mrigari, the hunter now turned devotee, to sustain himself. In fact, they brought even so much that the hunter didn't know now what to do with all these things that he had. And later on, Narada Muni said to his friend, I think Parvata Muni, let's go see my disciple. He was a hunter before, but now he has become a devotee. Let's go check him out a little bit, And they came to his house on the bank of Yamuna, I think. And Mrigari the hunter, he saw his spiritual master and he became very happy, very jubilantly. He was running towards his spiritual master to offer his obeisances. And then he saw some ants on the floor, on the ground, and he didn't want to pay obeisances on top of the ants, and so he, with his cloth, he put them to the side. And Narada Muni said, just see, this hunter that was taking so much pleasure in half killing animals, causing them so much suffering, now is not even willing to step on an ant. And then Parvata Muni, he says to Narada Muni that you are actually a touchstone. You can turn anything or anyone to a devotee, just like touchstone can turn any base metal into gold. So a devotee also is able to turn any person, no matter how degraded they are, into a devotee. And why did I tell this story is because this is, in the purport, Prabhupada explains that this is the measurement, how we measure someone, how advanced of a devotee he is, by how many people he actually turns to Krishna consciousness, by how many people's hearts he touches, by his own execution of devotional service. And obviously, executing devotional service means to also spread this message of serving the Lord to everybody else. And we can see that Srila Prabhupada, he was one of the greatest examples of, just turning everyone to Krishna. Just the other day, His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami was giving a talk in Musa House in Johannesburg. And he was basically talking about what was the mood and mission of Srila Prabhupada, how he wanted things to be done. And then at the end, one question came up, and the question was basically that, wasn't it that Prabhupada came to the West just at the right time when things were basically ripe for him to preach Krishna consciousness? The situation was like that. And Jayadvaita Maharaj, he said no. That time was not like everybody was just waiting to receive Krishna consciousness with open arms. Yes, hit us, with Krishna consciousness. Everybody was super engrossed in material, trying to enjoy everything material, Even though there were hippies and they were against the grain of thought at that time that, everybody should just work and earn money and this and that and go to Vietnam, because that was the time of Vietnam War as well. They were trying to rebel, and the saying was, don't trust anybody over 30, and Prabhupada was, twice that age. He was 70. So it was not like everybody was just waiting for him to come and give them Krishna consciousness, and yes, they were on the verge of Krishna consciousness. Actually, their principles were sex, drugs, and rock and roll. That was their principle, and LSD was like the way to spirituality. So, and then you have Prabhupada coming from Vrindavan, fully, immersed in the pastimes of Krishna. And it is said that Prabhupada was the real resident of Vrindavan, because he was not just physically present in Vrindavan, but also in his mind or in his consciousness, he was in Vrindavan. And actually, he never left Vrindavan. So, into this kind of hodgepodge of everything in America, in New York, Prabhupada came, and he just, by his own presence, by his practicing Krishna consciousness, he attracted so many people. He did not change any of his ways. When he was there first year in 1966, there was a big winter. It was the biggest winter, or the coldest winter in, 50 years, it is said. And actually, there were some other preachers or sadhus from India there, so-called sadhus. And many of them, they accepted the Western ways, like wearing pants. Some started even eating meat or drinking alcohol, saying, this is, because it is so cold, you have to take a little bit alcohol to warm you from the inside as well. Yeah. It is said like that in Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. But Prabhupada, he was not ready to compromise. He didn't compromise any of his principles. He didn't want to change his dress. Even though it was so cold, the wind was blowing so hard, it could even throw you off your feet. Because in New York, there are all these tall high-rise buildings, and basically they are set one against each other. There is no, air can't come through. But there are these avenues and streets which are like straight, and they come towards the ocean and to the other side. So the wind just blows through like anything. It's like wind tunnels. So Prabhupada, he had to walk like a few blocks to Dr. Mishra's apartment to take a shower in the morning. So he was there walking up and down in this cold weather, and he didn't think, okay, now I have to take off my dhoti or something, put on some warm clothes, even though he was so old. He was just walking there with his dhoti and a big coat, but he was happy because he knew that he was doing that to please his spiritual master. That was his idea. He just wanted to fully please his spiritual master. And by doing so, his spiritual master fully empowered him to do all these miracles he has performed. And that is also said in this purport, that a disciple, he should take very seriously the instructions of the spiritual master on his head. He should fully surrender to the spiritual master. And Srila Prabhupada also, when he was reading the Bhagavad Gita, after he took initiation from his spiritual master, he saw in the second chapter the purports of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that a disciple should make the orders of the spiritual master as his life and soul. And that really struck Srila Prabhupada, because then he understood that the instruction that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gave him, even on his first meeting to preach this message of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in English language in the Western world, that was the biggest desire of his spiritual master, and that he should actually take this instruction very seriously. And then if we continue to observe the life of Srila Prabhupada, Krishna made such arrangements that he was actually forced to go to the West. He actually was thinking, when he was preaching in Jhansi, and he established the League of Devotees, that maybe, I will be based in Jhansi, and then I will send my disciples out to preach. But then it failed. He had some dispute for the building and so on. And he couldn't attract many, people that will be eager to preach with him, eager to just full-time dedicate themselves to this movement. So he had to abandon this idea. And it began to dawn upon him that actually he will have to go to the West himself. Because nobody wanted to help him. Even his godbrothers, they didn't want to help him. He tried to serve in the Gaudiya Math once he left his family and became a Vanaprastha. He wanted to serve and revive the Sajjana Toshani, or the harmonist, or the daily magazine that his spiritual master Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was publishing. And he wanted to make it very big. But his god brothers were also not interested in that, and they were just interested in maintaining the status quo, and that was not Prabhupada's mood. He wanted to preach, and he wanted to make everything very big, of course, for the pleasure of his spiritual master. And by doing that, he obviously gained so much favor from his spiritual master. Obviously, before also he was like a pet child of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Sometimes he would just hang out in his room and they would talk and like this. And many of his god brothers were saying that a fool goes where the demigods don't dare to enter, or the angels don't dare to go. So this was Prabhupada's mood, that just full surrender to his spiritual master, and then he just went fearlessly into this abode of Maya. Jadvaita Maharaj, last time when we had this, when he gave this lecture on Markine Bhagavata Dharma, the poem that Prabhupada wrote just before entering the United States, he said that he came to this Ugradesh, or a very fearsome or very ghastly place. And yes, Srila Prabhupada himself said that when he was having difficulties with his heart, he had his heart attack in 1967, and his disciples, they asked him, how should we understand this? You said that, all right, everybody that gets some trouble is affected by Maya, but you are our spiritual master. How are you supposed to be affected by Maya, right? And Srila Prabhupada said to them that actually, by coming to America and starting to preach this Krishna consciousness, I declared war against Maya. And now in war, we are supposed to expect some reversals. And this is one such reversal. Because he said, because so many of you have joined me so seriously and so sincerely, this was a great blow to Maya. And now she's striking back. And she gave me this death blow. But by the grace of Krishna, I survived it. And of course, he gave the credit also to his disciples that they have prayed so nicely to Krishna. And by this, he could gain so much strength to continue his preaching work. And yes, Srila Prabhupada just fearlessly preached on the strength of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and on the strength of his spiritual master. So there is no need for us to be afraid of anything also, because we are fully protected by Srila Prabhupada. This is his movement, and his disciple carry his protection, and they give it to us as well. We should just go out and try to affect each and every person's life and touch their hearts by our giving them Krishna consciousness. And in this way, we will fully satisfy Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Krishna, obviously, because Krishna is not different than Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Also in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that anyone who is spreading this message of his glories becomes very, very dear to him. And if we criticize such a devotee that is in this way engaged in serving Krishna, then what is our chance of ever approaching Krishna? This is also the first offense to the holy name, to blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their lives to the propagation of the holy names of the Lord. And we see that now that some time have passed, that some people that claim to be devotees, they even turn sometimes on Srila Prabhupada, saying, well, he brought this thing, and he was, some people, they see him as savior, but this is not a very healthy vision, of they say like this. How can they even chant the holy names? They have, criticized the very person who sacrificed his whole life to come and save them. If Srila Prabhupada didn't come, they wouldn't even have any idea that Krishna even exists. What to speak of chanting the holy names? Srila Prabhupada came to this Western world, which is called Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashtatadi Shatarine. He has come to dissipate this Nirvishesha Shunyavad, the theory of voidness and oneness with God. So basically he has come to smash the Mayavad philosophy. And once the disciples of Srila Prabhupada, they asked him, because Prabhupada, he would organize these debates with the devotees, and he wanted to be the judge. One would take the position of the atheists or the scientists or the Mayavadis, and the other would take the position of the devotees. And most of the time, Prabhupada would immediately interject. He could not just be there as a bystander, just a bystander, as just observing patiently and be silent. Immediately when some points of the Mayavad philosophy would come up, he would just immediately smash it to pieces. He couldn't tolerate anything, even though it was just like a play debate. So then once Kirtanananda asked Srila Prabhupada, he asked him, why are you so against the Mayavadis? Shouldn't we focus more on the atheists? They are the ones who are against the principle of God consciousness. Mayavadis, they recognize there is some superior power, that they recognize that there is the Supreme Lord, and that is His effulgence and everything. Why are you so against the Mayavadis? And Prabhupada said, you don't like that I'm against the Mayavadis because you are a Mayavadi. Yeah. Prabhupada just immediately exposed our mentality. So, yes, in this Western world, everybody is more or less a Mayavadi. Even if, we see the Christian philosophers, even though they have such a nice philosophy, most of their conclusions are impersonal. And that is sort of how it got infiltrated, even though that is not actually their philosophy. This impersonalism very much infiltrated also Christianity and all the other sort of philosophical theses of this Western world. It's more or less everything is impersonal. And in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, we see that when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to meet the Mayavadi sannyasis in Varanasi, they couldn't even say the name of Krishna because Mayavadi Krishna Aparadi. They were great offenders to Krishna, so they couldn't say the holy names of the Lord. They could say Chaitanya, that they could say, but Shri Krishna Chaitanya they could not say. So then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, obviously, he tricked them for them to render some service by sitting in that very dirty place where they wash their feet. And then he exhibited his glow of Brahma Jyoti, and they thought, oh, this is a very special personality. You shouldn't sit there. Come sit with us, And in this way, he invoked in their heart some affection towards him, and in that way, they became also devotees. So, if we have some doubts about Srila Prabhupada and his status as a direct representative of Krishna and our Savior actually, then there is no way for us to actually chant the holy names, because we will just remain in this Mayavad mentality or impersonalistic mentality. And we will maybe approach Krishna or in the temple and like this, because by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, this Krishna consciousness is widespread. But actually we will not gain any benefit. Maybe only if some devotees are so merciful to us that they smash this kind of mentality, then we may have a chance. But it is very difficult. Our path will be very much difficult if we have any sort of doubts or how to say, critical thoughts of Srila Prabhupada or even his followers who have also dedicated so much to assist him. Yeah, and this is our great fortune that we have been given this sublime message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is so simple, this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, by the mercy of the spiritual master. Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jiva Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. That living entity who has been traveling up and down in this universe, finally by some causeless mercy, he gets, by the mercy of Guru and Krishna, this seed of Bhakti, Bhakti Lata. And we have all received it, otherwise we would not have been here. And now we should just carefully cultivate this tender creeper of devotional service by just taking the instructions of our spiritual master and the previous acharyas very seriously on our heads. Thank you very much. Any comments, any questions? Yes.
So the measurement of a devotee is how many devotees he's made. So how to make a devotee?
Well, that is the measurement that Srila Prabhupada gives in his purport to that story of Mrigari the hunter. The way to make the devotees, I don't know, I never made any devotees. So, but the way that it is described is that you just sincerely follow your spiritual master and just give that message or those instructions that your spiritual master has given you, you just pass down or execute. And in this way, you will get so much mercy that an empowerment as well, that you will be able to engage other people also in devotional service and inspire them to practice this devotional service. On our own strength, even if we have so much knowledge, even if we have so much practice of devotional service, just on our strength we cannot do much. But by fully surrendering to our spiritual master and Krishna, then anything is possible, even though we might not think that we are able to make any devotees or any progress ourselves in devotional service. But by pleasing our spiritual master, in that way we please Krishna. And then Krishna does everything through us. We become an instrument, just like when Krishna showed his universal form to Arjuna. Then he told him that I have done everything myself already. You just become my instrument and you take the credit. I don't know if that answer. You should answer your own question. I
I
think.
also never made a devotee.
No, you did.
I made my bodies.
No. That is not true.
But I was just wondering, my follow-up question is, you're saying that you should fully surrender, then you become empowered. So what gets in the way of us surrendering, or
Well,
being empowered?
in my opinion, it's Kama Esha Krodha Esha Rajoguna Samudbhava Mahashano Mahapapma Vedinam Ichavarinam. When Arjuna asked Krishna, what is it that forces you to do things that you don't want to do? What is that, Krishna? What is this force that is making me do things that I really don't want to do? And Krishna says this is lust only, Arjuna. And this lust later transforms into anger and becomes all-devouring, sinful enemy of the world. And where does this lust come from is this desire to rule over this material nature, or we want to become Krishna. We want to be Krishna. So we want to be God, and then because of that, our love which we have for Krishna becomes perverted and it becomes lust. And in this way, we have cultivated these lusty desires since time immemorial. And we had so many chances to return to Krishna. It is explained how when we come to this material world, we first get the post of Brahma. And in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, it is explained how Brahma, he always has darshan of the Mahapurusha, or the Supreme Lord. He can ask him anything, and they can discuss things, how to create the material world. And we had that post. But those who want to, they don't think that they have been able to control the material world as much as they wanted to, they, spiral down. And they develop this asurim bhavam ashritam, or the demonic mentality, or mentality to compete with Krishna. So when we try to turn back to Krishna, again, this is declaration of war against the material energy, or against Maya, and also declaration of war to all the sort of qualities that we have been cultivating throughout so many lifetimes. And it is just natural that we are not ready to fully surrender just yet. It takes a lot of work, because in Slovenian we have this proverb that a habit is like an iron shirt. If you have a habit, it's very difficult to break out of it. So, I don't know if that answers.
That's fine. Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes, Rukmini.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you thank you for so nicely telling that story of Mrigari. It would make a really nice play, I was thinking.
Yeah.
My question is about, so we see the Prachetas, and they take the order on their head, they're sadhava, they move through, and it's all like, it feels very fairy tale-y, like even with Mrigari, he just he's this sadistic person, right? He's getting joy from pain. And then it's like, Narada comes, break your bow. Okay, that's dramatic. But then it's like there's no issue then. Whereas in my personal experience, it's like, okay, you can get the orders of the saintly people, but then there's a lot of struggle in between to keep the orders of the saintly people on your head. Kind of slips now and again. Yeah. And then the Bhagavatam doesn't show it as much. And then I feel like, okay, how does it apply to me?
Yeah. Yeah, well, the Bhagavatam is it's the highlight reel. It's a highlight reel. You know, it's 7 days. Let's do it quick. You know, we have to show the highlights, and then we have to focus on Krishna, and then Parikshit Maharaj has to be burned. You know, and that's the Bhagavatam. So you don't have so much time to explain. Yes, you know, these people, they struggle, but you have also struggle in the Srimad Bhagavatam, especially when it comes to the demigods. I mean, I just was reading the 9th canto. And that 9th canto, my God, you know, Harinamananda, he named the 9th canto the Netflix specials. That's his term that he came up with. So much struggle in, you know, material life, executing devotional service, everything, you know. So many. You think, oh, this is a very great personality, then he does things that you wouldn't imagine anyone doing, you know. I will not start to narrate the stories, but there is obviously so much struggle also in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And yes, obviously we struggle, and you know, we have all these fairy tale stories, but also, as I explained, Srila Prabhupada, he came to this Bowery, and you know, that was not a nice place. And there is this, on Facebook, if you go to Mukunda Goswami's page, you will see he made like a short video of describing the Bowery in the 60s. And you have also videos of people who actually lived on the Bowery, and they, in their own words, they described the Bowery. They say there is nothing here else to do than drink to drown your sorrows. So Prabhupada, he came into this kind of environment, and he, just by his association, so many people changed. And you know, Prabhupada was here only for, you know, preaching for 10 years, and so many people, you know, took it very seriously, and they spread it all around the world themselves also. Many obviously also fell away and struggled, and many still struggle along, but just pray to Prabhupada. And Prabhupada knows, obviously, he knew. He gave initiation to so many people who were not ready, but just with this desire that maybe one will be ready, you know. And he knew that there was these struggles, and he knew that also so-called serious disciples sometimes were not following. But he did not hit his disciples on the head, especially in the beginning. If you read the Lilamrita, you will see. He was just happy that they did anything for the service of Krishna. And then what I found very interesting was that, you know, he gave first initiation in New York, and Mukunda Maharaj, he was one of the first with his wife Janaki. And then it is described in the Lilamrita that actually Mukunda, he was not very serious. Even though he liked Prabhupada and everything, he liked the philosophy, but he was not following the rules. And also, I don't know if it said that he chanted everything. But then he had this idea of going to India and everything. And somehow or other he got stuck first in Oregon, Portland, and then he got stuck in San Francisco. And then he himself opened a temple and started this whole thing in San Francisco. And then he bought the ticket for Prabhupada to come for this Avalon ballroom thing with so many other, you know, like the Grateful Dead and this kind of musical groups. And then so many greeted Prabhupada by chanting Hare Krishna. There was a big greeting of Prabhupada coming to the airport. And you could think, you know, like Mukunda Maharaj, he didn't really follow anything. He just had this great faith in Prabhupada, and just by that, he made this whole movement in San Francisco. So we just have to have attachment to our spiritual master, and to, you know, to Krishna. Try to develop this attachment. And obviously you have, because you had so much association with your spiritual master. You have that attachment, and he is obviously very attached to you. So you just have to stick to that, and then everything will be fine, even if you struggle. You will get pulled out. You know Maharaj, how he came and he just saved you in one stroke, every time. You would be so much in anxiety, and then he would come and say, yeah, anyway, they don't know what they're talking about. He just put, all empowerment on you, and then you, yes, He's still doing that. Don't worry. Anybody else? Maybe we should. Oh, yes. I think that lady has. Oh, there.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for your wonderful
Krishna.
class. You actually remind me of your spiritual master as well while you speak. And the question was raised.
The mic
The
closer.
question was raised how to make devotees. Well, you're already doing that, going on Harinam and distribution of books. So this is also making devotees. In that, the seed of bhakti is planted in their hearts.
Yes.
And one day it will sprout. So this is the method Prabhupada has given us to go out there and preach. And, in this way, make devotees like that. So we may not be there personally to see how they're growing in their spiritual life, but at some point they will take it up, and that is how we became devotees as well, right?
Yes.
If you think of it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And also, like you boys bring, brahmacharis bring a whole new atmosphere to the temple in that. In the Harinams every evenings. It's very wonderful to see this happening, because it's basically, we just have Harinam once a week on a weekend. So it's very nice. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
From my side, I want you guys to come every year.
We come twice. We come twice already. I think that the lady also has a question.
Good morning to all of you all. It's nice listening to what you have to say. But I thank God that I could come here once in a while, and now to listen to some of the kirtans and what you are saying about the books. And as a Christian student, I've been in Krishna conscious like for 3 years I spent here, and I had the privilege of reading all the books. And I'm just pointing a point onto you because you mentioned something about Christianity. But most of the books that I've been reading, and I studied about Christianity from those books.
Yes.
And there was like non-stop. Like every book I took out was something about Christ in it.
Yes.
So when I even had the privilege of to study like a year or so, my biblical studies in the temple. Because I used to come around and just sit outside and do it. But I was invited in the temple to sit and do it. And I passed with exemplary results. It's only because of the Godhead that I was learning about and achieving. So the books that I've been reading has been about Christianity, that I thought it was about Christianity alone. But in the vast, in the field that we learn about, I don't know if you know about the Genesis account. So we learn about creation. We learn about how we are made and what we are supposed to do on earth. So in biblical studies, we learn that, that we only spoke about the broken bone. We also learn about the broken bone. But above all, if you don't understand Godhead, you wouldn't understand the thesis that you already mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
It comes down in the lineage and understanding each thing that we need to know. So I just want to say I'm blessed to understand Krishna conscious and learning and knowing the vast quantity and the content that God teaches us through all Prabhupada's books.
Yes.
So at this very moment, I'm very applaud to be with you, all of you, because y'all taught me, to submit. And when it comes to authority, you cannot boldly be encouraged and say, I am a Christian and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. You need to know from where your lineage is coming from. So there's one point that you also made was when the beast, the beast, God gave everybody a portion in everything in the land. He made beast, he made everything. So our struggle in Christianity is like the mark of the beast. I don't know if you heard about it. But why the mark of the beast and nothing else of literature came through? So that's our struggle in the world, is 666. So in all the ongoings and the slaughterings that we have, but the best part of what I learned in Godhead is that the 666 is not something for us to be bothered about.
Yes.
Because we know who we are in the image of God. So Godhead teaches us that He is the Godhead in us. So why be afraid of things that's coming along? So even we see the killings and the wars and the pestilence and the sickness and diseases, but we know who Godhead is in us. So I just want to say all praises to Srila Prabhupada and his disciples, and I want to say thank you, Godhead, for learning and teaching me. And Chaitanya is not here, but he was my teacher, and he taught me a lot about the motor car, and without a manual in the motor car, you can't move the motor car. So I just want to bless each one of you for what I've said, and I thank that we could just come and bow down to Krishna and know Krishna is the head and not the tail of anything.
Jai.
Amen.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Yeah, I was mentioning Christianity and all that. My father actually was a very devout Christian as he was growing up, and then he also had this experience when he started to read these Prabhupada's books that actually there is nothing different in the message of Srila Prabhupada and the message of Christ. So the only thing he saw that is that he could understand what Christ was saying better. So then he thought that maybe he should practice these teachings very seriously. And in that way he will obviously also satisfy Jesus. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Premanande.